Hey everyone, Real Comic Sacks, and today I'm talking about the passing of the mantle of Captain America from Steve Rogers to Sam Wilson, the Falcon, during Avengers Endgame. And I gotta tell you, at first I was disappointed. I thought it was a really cool scene. Old man Steve Rogers shows up, and they're talking, and he opens the package there, and there's the shield, and he hands off the mantle. He gives it to Bucky, and to Falcon. And at first I'm like, man, why didn't he give it to Bucky? Why didn't he give it to his best friend? And then the more I thought about it and the more I thought about the MCU, either character is, comic book lore. Both of them have donned the shield in the comic book. So I want to go into first about why not Bucky. Now, Bucky Barnes is an American hero in his own right. World War II vet, hero, POW to Hydra. Helped defeat Hydra after Captain America helped free him, and then the train scene. He falls off and ends up as a Russian POW, ends up as an experiment. And there he becomes, brainwashed, and he's turned to a weapon against America. He becomes an international terrorist of the highest caliber. An assassin who's ultimately responsible for the death of Howard Stark and his wife, and we don't know how many others. But he was lethal enough and well known enough that Black Widow knew all about him. So, anyways, he's responsible for all these deaths. He becomes an international, not celebrity, but infamous internationally after the attack on the UN that he was framed for, and it's just it actually killed T'Chaka in that attack. So he becomes this well-known international terrorist. And for all these public reasons, it's hard to imagine him donning the shield, just because of public opinion. But there are also some very personal aspects of this between him and Steve Rogers. And, of course, that relationship is not the classic Marvel Comics one where Bucky is Steve Rogers', kid sidekick. In the classic Marvel Comics, Steve Rogers is the clear number one, and Bucky is always his, kid sidekick that followed him everywhere. And the two were more best friends and peers. Even as a super soldier, to Bucky, Captain America was just that kid from Brooklyn. It was Steve Rogers with a shield. So that mantle didn't mean as much to Bucky Barnes as we think. And I think it may have been, honestly, a little bit awkward him handing it off, because they were, even as they're both super soldiers. They're both, and it would have been a great redemption arc. I don't know if it would have worked as well. And I think also Steve Rogers wanted something for Bucky that he got to achieve at that moment when he came back as old man Steve Rogers. And I think that's going and finding some peace and living a life and having that something other than war. And finally, I don't know that Bucky really wanted it. Like I mentioned, that mantle didn't mean as much to him as his friend did. But I don't think he necessarily feels worthy of it yet. He's still a person, I think, that feels a lot of guilt for what happened to him. For, even though he was a victim of the Russian program, that responsibility of what he did as Winter Soldier, I think, still weighs heavy on his shoulders. And I still think, even after everything he's been through in Wakanda and getting rehabbed, I still think he doesn't fully trust himself. So why Sam Wilson instead? And I gotta say, Falcon's been there every step of the way in the MCU. I've seen the arguments on Twitter and everywhere else. An argument saying he's giving the shield to some guy that he met running, or of course that he's going to give it to the person of color. And I'm not buying any of that. I don't. Sam Wilson is a good character, and I think it was the right choice. He came out of retirement. Yeah, he met Captain America while running, and he still came out of retirement to help Cap during Captain America Winter Soldier, while the whole government was after him. He stood beside him during Civil War and the fallout. He went and got locked up because of Cap and following him, and all the internet, and became an international criminal because of it, and followed him to Wakanda, and their missions afterwards, which in the comic books, basically they're running all over Syria and everywhere else trying to get rid of some of the technology that Shatari's technology from the Battle of New York that had made it all over the world. So he's done everything with Cap. He's done it slower, like he said himself. I do what he does, just slower. But he's been a true and honest friend. He's been a patriot. He's been the guy who does what is right. And that's really what the Shield represents. The MCU version of Sam Wilson is a great choice to carry the mantle. He's every guy. And while I wish Bucky would have gotten it at first to complete his redemption arc, I'm happy that Sam Wilson got it. I look forward to seeing Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan go on and do the Disney Plus Winter Soldier and Falcon show. I think that's going to be great. Those two have great chemistry. I love the fight scene they had with Spider-Man in Civil War at the airport. It was one of the highlights of that whole fight. And then just them interacting together on everything they do, from the convention circuit and Comic Cons and all that stuff. Those two just get along great. Their senses of humor work perfect together. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them hopefully do. I don't know how long that Disney Plus series is going to last. I've heard at least 6 episodes, but we'll have to wait and see, guys. So tell me what you think down in the comments. What am I missing here? Why was Bucky the better choice? If you think Bucky was the better choice, then let me know down below. I know this probably isn't a 100% popular opinion, but everybody's entitled to think what they think. I'm not gonna rip you in half for thinking opposite, and I hope we can discuss it without going crazy. So guys, tell me what you think down in the comments below. If you haven't, hey, help me level up in this game of YouTube and hit that subscribe button and leave a like, guys. I appreciate it. That's all I got. Real Comic Stacks out.